Okay, thank you. All righty, well, we'll bring this committee meeting, Parks and Rec committee meeting to order for, I guess, June 7th at roughly about 8:33. Apologize for the lateness, but we're all here. So I'm assuming we have a quorum because I think I see Gary, Fred, who else am I trying to look? Chad is here, okay. And who am I? I can't see it on my phone, but do we have a quorum?
I don't see Commissioner Carter.
I'm on here.
Oh, there she is. You were hiding.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay. So it's official. We've got a quorum. So I guess we'll go ahead and get this meeting started. And again, my apologies for the lateness and my technology issues, but we'll kind of move right along. So Gary, let me start first. Did everybody get a chance to see the minutes of the last meeting, I guess?
I did.
Yes.
Okay. Anybody have any issues, anything we need to adjust with the minutes? If so, speak now. If not, the minutes stand approved. Gary, if you would please, can you take the meeting from here and kind of start with the agenda items?
I will, Commissioner. And good morning to everyone. The first item we had was basically an update on some unfinished business with the agreement, Commissioner Mitchell, that we talked about with the school board and the Board of Commissioners regarding Chestnut Log. We gave information to the county attorney a couple of months back, and they're still evidently working on that agreement. They have not gotten, evidently, to my knowledge, anything done yet. They're having issues connecting maybe with the Board of Education attorneys, but that was the last update I got last week from the attorney. They're working on it, but as of yet, have not gotten an agreement.
And Gary, so I can be clear, the agreement is what outside of them with their portion that they're spending and what we're spending. Is that what the agreement consists of, or is that a question for Coleman?
That's a question for Attorney Coleman.
Well, I can respond to that. We have made some progress in that we have reached the law firm. It's a law firm in Gainesville. We've actually talked to a lawyer there about it. They understand what we're doing. We've prepared a draft agreement, and the agreement is what you described, who's going to pay for what, and what's going to be done. We have gotten comments back from Mr. Dukes' department, and we are prepared to send that agreement up to that lawyer. It may already have been sent to them. If it has not, it will go to them today, or tomorrow. We have made progress in the fact that we've got the agreement on our side drafted, and we've located the law firm, made contact with them. They've been very difficult to pin down who's going to be the lawyer actually working on this, and that kind of thing. And we still don't know for sure, but we have identified a person that we can send it to. So we expect to have it out to them. And we think it's pretty straightforward. Once they look at it, we don't think there'll be any real, there may be some negotiations that we'll have to come back to you on, but we don't think they'll be extensive.
And so I think I'm clear on all of this, but Gary, from my understanding, talking to Trent, is he understanding that we understand what they're going to do, and we're going to pick up from that point moving forward when it comes to the dollars and cents? Or I'm a little baffled as to the agreement of the attorney side of this, but if that's kind of the direction we're going to take, I'm okay with it. I'm just trying to make sure I fully understand, because Trent and I conversation sounds a little bit different, other than they're going to do, what is it, $40,000 or $50,000 or whatever they're doing, whether with the nets or the parking lot, whatever that is.
Yeah, my understanding, Commissioner Mitchell, is they had a certain amount of money.
Correct.
That they are going to give or spend. I don't know if it's give or spend.
No, it's going to be spent on their end. Everything what they're going to spend is going to be spent on their end, and we're going to pick up from that point moving forward with whatever our spend is.
it's about 50% of the total amount of money that is to be spent over
Correct.
a law.
So, and the, Mr. Coleman, and your end of actually saying the attorneys needs to agree. I'm trying to understand that. Is there a need for that, or is it just protocol?
Well, I think it's, you're better off having an agreement to make it clear as to what's what their obligation is, what our obligation is, what it's going to be spent on. It's not a difficult agreement. It's pretty straightforward. I think you're better off having an agreement like that so that the parties and the obligations are clear. But I think it's very straightforward. And once they get it, I don't believe it's going to take very long for them to, I don't think we'll have any difficulties reaching some agreement. But there are certain kind of obligations, and you don't want to have one party disagreeing on what their obligation is 6 months from now, or if there's a change in personnel or something like that, you're going to have the obligation set forth in writing. So I think an agreement is better. And I do think that we're getting pretty close to, we should be easy. It should not be difficult to reach agreement once they can zero in.
So here's what I will do. I will reach out to Mr. North today. And Gary will hopefully jump on a call with maybe you and myself and Commissioner Cartman to make sure that we're all clear. I just didn't think that it needed any legal binding stuff, but I get the protocol, but we'll find out. I just don't want this to kind of get dropped from the mere fact of it being, I guess, so legally challenged in doing this. And that's part I don't want to see happen, because Trent and I have had many conversations, and this side of it never came about, I guess. So, but Mr. Coleman, not that what you guys are doing is incorrect, and I think you're right in doing it this way, but I just don't want this to kind of get because this part has been kind of pushed off to the side now for Gary, with probably 10 years or better or something,
Yes.
So I just don't want the red tape and paperwork starts to get in the way of this when we're already kind of at the finish line to get this all done. So, okay. But yeah, we'll have a quick conversation to make sure that Trent and all these guys are good with where we're going, and are they okay moving this? So
I think Attorney Coleman is correct. I think it's basically pretty simple.
okay.
So hopefully it'll go pretty quickly.
Let's keep it simple. I like that.
I think it will. I think it'll go very quickly. This is not what, there are some agreements where you get a lot of pushback. You have controversial provisions, but given that we've shared with them the emails, they know what the parties have agreed to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of, I don't think this is one of those agreements where you're going to get a lot of, controversial pushback. So I think it'll move pretty quickly. That's my belief.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes, ma'am.
just for the public, can we just state again what we're doing? This is a school property, a park that happens to be on school property.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to help with the upkeep of it, because it is something that the public uses within Douglas County. So can you just explain that for the public? Because we just started talking, and I don't think those who are listening.
Okay. Gary, can you give the details of kind of where the whole entire project is, and I guess then we'll understand the legal side of what we're doing, and then we'll just kind of move it from there.
Certainly. Chestnut Log Soccer Complex, which is on the property, is next to Chestnut Log Middle School, which the Board of Education owns. We provide the soccer program along with the Soccer Association for all the children in Douglas County. So we maintain the fields, we maintain the property, but some of the amenities on the property over the years is starting to show a lot of wear. The netting that surrounds the fields is one instance, and also some of the fencing surrounding the fields. So with that said, Commissioner Mitchell had approached the Board of Ed about entering into an agreement, and that's where we are today. The Board of Education agreed to pitch in, and we as well, 50-50, to replace some of that netting and fencing. So it won't be a burden on any one entity.
And we'll also add that this, I guess, is only just a small step in the right direction of trying to improve the maintenance on that particular field and that location. So don't think this covers it all. And I think Commissioner Carthen, you all know this, that this is only just a drop in the bucket as to what's needed over there. But at least it's a start, at least a step in the right direction for right now. So
Yes, Commissioner, that's a good point. We need to make it known that there's a lot of work that needs to be done over there, and this is probably some of the least expensive things that we can go ahead and take care of. The lighting system is probably going to take $1 million to replace the lighting on the fields. The parking lot needs to be paved, and we also need another building over there. So restroom, concession building. So those are the big ticket items that need to be done if we continue to have this agreement with the Board of Ed and something financially worked out to take care of these high ticket items.
and the school board has agreed to definitely partner with us and help out and add some assistance in this span. So just FY. So I don't know if that's enough clarity there, Commissioner Carthen, but at least, that's kind of where we are with this particular project.
Yes, Commissioner. And Gary, thank you so much for doing that, just to kind of catch the public up to speed. And I just want to say kudos to Superintendent North and the school board for recognizing that, a partnership, that we want to enter into a partnership with them so that we can upgrade these facilities. And we can't do it all at once. We can't do it overnight, but we're taking the right steps. And thank you, Attorney Coleman, for making sure that we got certain things in place. It's great because Trent or Superintendent North is amenable. He talks to everybody. It's great that we have a relationship with them. I want us to keep that, but I also want us to make sure that we dot our I's and cross our T's when we're doing these types of things, so that if there is a new administration or if there is another agreement, well, we already have one in place, then we can just follow that one up. We can change the dollar amounts, but we can follow with that one, and we keep everything, on the up and up. So thank you for that, Commissioner Mitchell, for reaching out to them.
All right. Thank you very much. On that note, is there anything else in reference to that particular project or anything else to add with this committee? Okay. Gary, let's roll right along.
Okay. Item number 3 is the senior services rental agreement. Consuela, are you on the line? I know you've been working with legal. Is there anything established on your rental agreement?
Yes, good morning. I am on the line. How's everybody doing this morning?
Great.
Good. So we have been in talks with legal, and they did make some changes based on the committee's recommendation from the April's meeting, I believe. Do I have permission to share my screen?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Okay, hold on. Share. Let's see. Can you see the rental agreement?
Yes.
Okay, great. So 2 of the items that we were asked to review were the damage deposit and also security. And you will see highlighted in red a clause that Attorney Watson added to the damage deposit right here, that the facility user understands and agrees that the damage deposit is to secure the intent to rent the facility and cover any damages or loss that may occur to the facility or its contents. And if we go on down, here's the additional information that was added. So at the end of the rental period, the building monitor will conduct a thorough walkthrough of the facility to determine the condition of the facility at the end of the rental period and to assess refundability of the damage deposit which refundability shall be determined in the sole discretion of the building monitor. And then it goes on to say that we will refund if there is a refund to be given within 4 weeks following the end of the rental period. The next paragraph, any damage or loss occurring to the building or its content shall be the responsibility of the facility user. And it explains, to the extent required, the damage deposit shall be used to repair any damage or pay for any loss. Any damage or loss occurring in excess of the deposit shall be paid to the center immediately upon demand. And this may include the cost of the time spent by the center employee, volunteer, or contractor needed to clean or repair the premises or disperse, group, or deal with disturbances. So that was the clause that was added in reference to the damage deposit. And then if you look at item number 6, refund of the rent, the room rental fees paid will not be refunded unless a cancellation occurs more than 14 days prior to the date of the event. The security deposit will not be refunded upon cancellation. Are there any questions in reference to the damage deposit?
I just have one. So if, and I may have missed this, and I apologize, but if by chance the damage exceeds the amount of the deposit, is that still the responsibility of that person who leased the building, still is responsible for that damage in excess of the deposit?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. That's stated in this.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, if it's stated, okay, good enough. Okay, go right ahead.
Okay, and so the second issue was security. And we see here in number 5, in the event that the center should deem it necessary to have such police/security, we need to just change that to county, at the function, it shall be the responsibility of the renter to engage such personnel at renter's expense. And let's see. My arrow not working now. Okay. And there is another clause about that at the end. So if we look at items number 2 and 3, if alcohol is served at the facility user is required to obtain from the county a temporary alcohol permit and engage 2 county sheriff's deputies at facilities user's sole cost and expense to be at the facility during the entire rental period. Item number 3, if the proposed use involves 20 or more adults and or teenagers, facility user is required to engage 1 county sheriff's deputy at facilities user's sole cost and expense for every 20 or more adults or teenagers present during this time. And it states that, prior to the proposed use, the facility user must give us an estimated number of attendees. And then if depicted or engaged due to serving alcohol, then facility user will only be required to provide additional deputies after exceeding 40 adults and or teenagers in attendance. The requirements to provide sheriff's deputies may be waived by the county in the case of certain community meetings. For example, a homeowners association, neighborhood association, and any such waiver is at the sole discretion of the facility and must be in writing and does not waive any other requirement under this agreement. So those are the clauses that were added in terms of security.
Got it. Okay.
Very good.
I think it looks and sounds sounds great. Anybody got any additions or think there needs to be any other adjustments or how we're looking? So I guess I'll start with Commissioner Carson. Anything you noticed there that we're missing? Or I know we kind of went through this once before, but anything to add to that? So we'll go around the room.
Nope, it looks good to me. It's very straightforward, very clear. I like that they would have to use our sheriff's department as opposed to just getting their own security, because we don't want them to get their cousin Ralph to be security during an event. So, I'm all aboard. I hope that everyone is in agreement with this. It looks great.
Yeah. Hey, and so Dr. Gilchrist, will you make that adjustment? I think you said city, county, I think I saw earlier. Is
Yes,
that-
sir.
Okay,
I'll,
okay.
I'll inform Attorney Watson that we just need to make that one adjustment.
Right. Not that they can't use the city, law enforcement. I think that should be optional, but I like the mere fact of us first, or we, so if they did come up with that, I don't, that would be at your sole discretion as to whether or not that would be acceptable or not, or our, but okay. Anybody else? Gary, Chad?
No, I think it looks good.
Looks good to me.
Gary?
Looks good. Pretty comprehensive.
Yep, looks good. I like the fact that, the more adults and teenagers in attendance, the more security is needed. So, looks good to me.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Gilchrist, I think you got our blessing.
Awesome. Thanks a lot.
So, good. All righty. So at this point, do we need to either move forward with that as this is now the foundation of when it comes to using that facility and cast a vote here, or this is going to be kind of the standard? I mean, do we need to vote on this, or do we need to just move this forward, basically? That's a question. Anybody?
I think we just move it forward, Commissioner Mitchell.
Okay.
Personally.
So I guess, Michael, is there? Go ahead.
Yeah, my thought would be that if you're going to, from my experience, when a committee sends something to a full board, it is with or without a recommendation. I mean, they may not send it to the board, but they send it to the board. It should be the recommend approval to the board, so that the board will know the committee has signed off on it.
Yeah.
That'd be my thought.
Okay, so let's do this then. Let's go ahead and make a motion to actually either move this particular item forward. So do I have a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor to move this item forward to the full board as a recommendation as to kind of how that facilities will kind of have a lease that particular facility. Okay, so there's a motion and a second. For those of you who would like to move this motion and approve this motion, I'll start with
Commissioner Mitchell, is there any discussion?
Oh, I'm sorry. Any discussion? I apologize. I guess I did discussion earlier. I didn't think there would be any, but any discussion?
Yes.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So in the past, when we've had agreements like this, I know with Parks and Rec, we haven't had to move it to the full board, because is this something that Chairman Jones would have to sign off on? Because if not, let's not crowd the agenda.
That was my concern, Commissioner. And we've never, any kind of agreement like this, we've never taken it to the board. I mean,
Yeah.
that's fine if you choose to go that way, but
Only because, I mean, not that there's a need to do it, but just based on what Mr. Coleman stated. Okay, so on the agenda, on the consent agenda, as it moves forward, I think it's not that it will be a problem and it will be any huge discussion. So just based on Mr. Coleman's, thought process, that's why I said let's go ahead and just kind of move it that direction. So that's why we've got a motion and a second on the floor with
So Attorney Coleman, can you explain your rationale again? Because I've always thought that anything that was needed to be appropriated with funds or that needed a signature to become binding is what we needed to move to the agenda, outside of presentations, of course. So is this something that we can just, concur that it is okay, and then we just email it around to the commissioners just to give them, a look? Or is this something we actually have to put on the agenda? Because yesterday was a long agenda, and some things, even I thought, okay, this really didn't need to be on the agenda. And I just want us to start cleaning up this process so that we're not on a BOC meeting for, 8 hours.
I got it. I get it.
yeah, I agree, Commissioner Carthen.
You understand that point. Excuse me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You go right ahead.
Thank you. In my opinion, some things should just be adopted by the Recreation Oversight Committee. That's just me personally. If Attorney Coleman believes it should go to the full board, I'm okay with that.
Right.
But
Right.
like you say, we take small things like this, and I don't mean to minimize it, but we
Right.
keep putting that on the agenda.
Yeah.
I think some things should just be able to be approved by the Recreation Oversight Committee.
Correct. I agree totally.
Yeah, and I don't disagree with that. My general thought though is if the county is going to be bound to something, they're going to sign something and be bound to it, then it should be approved by the board. Now, if on an agreement like this is not a binding agreement. Really, it's really just for someone else to sign, and it's a form for them to sign to rent a facility. I can see the argument that you could make. Well, the county is not going to be bound to do anything, not going to have to spend money. We just prepared this form for people to use. Then I can understand that not requiring board approval. But whenever, you're going to be binding the county, and the county is going to be, appropriating money for something, then I would think that you'd want to have board approval. I do understand on this one, though, that's not the case as I see it. This is a form for people to rent the facility. No expenditures or binding costs on the form of the county. I can understand why you could have a form approved by this committee and it'd be fine. So that's kind of where I would draw the line.
And that's not a problem. I think this committee was okay with just moving it forward, but based off the legal recommendation as to why we decided to kind of go through this whole process. So with that being stated, Fred and
I rescind my second.
Gary.
I rescind the motion.
Thank you. And so with that being stated, we'll move this item forward as an administrative concurrence of what we all agree upon from a committee perspective, and we'll just move this item forward. So Dr. Gilchrist, you got it, and you can kind of start using that form, I guess, immediately. So
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Carthen. And Gary, let's go on to the next item.
Okay, the next segment is new business, and we have 3 agreements. And I'm going to let Chad jump in here, and these are all recreation type items. So I'm going to let him talk to you just a second about each one. They've been to legal, and they've been approved. So Chad, you want to expound a little bit on these 3?
Yes, sir. Good morning, everyone. The first item, number 4, Forte Agreement. We were using First Data with Civic Rec. Civic Rec is what we use for all of our registration. And First Data, when Civic Rec updated their platform, First Data would not update theirs to kind of match. So it took away all of our online registration. So we worked closely with attorney Coleman and his staff to come up with this agreement, and it went back and forth, and we got everything finalized for Forte to become our new credit card processing and online servicer. Moving on to Johnson Controls agreement. That agreement we use every year with Johnson Controls out at Boundary Waters Aquatic Center. It's just the annual renewal that has come up this year. And then number 6, Civic Plus agreement. Civic Plus is what we use for all of our online registration and all of our registration for all of our programs. And that cost did not change from last year to this year. So there's no increase there. And all of these, like Mr. Duke said, have been looked over by Attorney Coleman's staff, and we work closely with them to get everything ready to go.
Okay, so what are we doing here, though? So other than giving us notice, I guess, Chad, is that what this is all about, Mr. Duke?
Yeah, I think the contracts have to go before the board to be signed and agreed upon.
Got it. Okay. Ready?
Mr.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
I like to add and commend the staff of the Recreation Department, Chad and Teresa and others, for being very responsive and digging in with my folks to address questions and issues that came up, and makes it much easier to get through the process when you've got responsive and attentive clients like that. And I like to commend them for their help in this process.
Got it. Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Gary, anything to add to that outside of kind of what's the next step?
No, I think we just need to move it forward and get a motion to take it to the board for approval.
Correct.
Commissioner Mitchell?
Yes, ma'am.
So with all of them, I only heard Chad state that there was one increase. So the rest of the contracts are staying the same, I'm assuming?
Hey, Commissioner. So Forte is it'll be a brand new vendor.
Uh-huh.
Johnson Controls, there was a $500 increase from last year, and Civic Plus stayed the same from last year.
Okay. So just one, and these are incorporated in your budget?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Just to clarify, the prices may have remained the same, but there were some changes to some of the agreements from what we had last time. Like, for example, in the Johnson's Control Agreement, there was an automatic renewal provision in it, which we are deleting. There was an indemnity from the county in it, which we also deleted. So the agreements changed some, but the amounts, I'll defer to Chad.
Okay. Thank you so much. So with that, then I'll make a recommendation or a motion that we accept these contracts to be moved to the full board for approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second on the floor. Thank you. Just, I guess, are there any other comments to this item? I just only add though, Chad, so that $500 in addition to is covered with, like stated in your budget, and you guys budget, Gary, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And that is, and how long, this is an annual type of a situation, or are we looking at this
It's an annual agreement, Commissioner.
Right. Okay. Outside of that, okay. So there's a motion and a second on the floor. Any other comments or in reference to this particular motion and item? Okay. With that being said, I'll start with you, Gary. For those approval, would like to approve this motion by making it state your name and your approval.
Gary Dukes, yes.
Chad.
Griffin, yes.
Mr. Perry.
Frederick Perry, yes.
Commissioner Carthen.
Commissioner Carthen, yes.
Commissioner Mitchell, yes. A unanimous decision of moving this item forward from the committee approval process. And thank you again. And outside of that, we'll move that one forward to the full board at our next meeting. And it stands approved, by the way. Thank you. All right.
Commissioner Mitchell,
Yes.
if it's okay, I'd like to excuse myself. I have another meeting this morning, and I'd like to excuse myself now from this meeting. I think that is all the items involved in the legal department. Is that correct, Commissioner?
I'll have to ask that of Mr. Dukes. Is that, I'm not
Mr.
sure.
Dukes, Director Dukes, is that correct?
Yes, Attorney Coleman. We did that. Tried to get you out of here.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Towards
Thank you. So with that, I'm going to excuse myself. Thank you so much.
And if there's any other legal things, we'll actually kind of take it up with you and outside of this particular meeting and or within the minutes. Okay.
Anytime, sir.
You got it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, Mr. Dukes. Mr. Dukes.
We're ready to move on?
Yes.
Okay. Item 7. This is the Bill Arp and Fair Play renovations that we went out to bid for, and we're making a recommendation to award to the lowest bidder Integrated Constructions for the new fencing and dugouts at Fair Play Park and Bill Arp Park. As you may remember, this was on the reforecast list. It was also on the original list, and we did not anticipate having the funds. So we went out to bid. Russell Small with Atlas, Terry Gable, myself, and David Good did the evaluation on the bids for this project, and it was unanimous that we chose Integrated Construction. I'll let Terry Gable. Terry, are you there? Expound a little bit on the funding and our process.
Yeah, Gary. As Gary said, this project has been on the original list um, as we move through the program. And then on the reforecast list, it's up at the top. And I think the committee's already reviewed this a couple of times, and the decision was to move forward with this project first so we could get the bids in, which turned out to be a great decision because obviously of inflation. What's driving a lot of this is the fence, and it's the steel prices have gone up. I talked to some contractors, and that's directly what's driving this. The one thing to keep in mind, this does include the wall that was discussed at the committee at Bill Arp. That was an added item to the project, so that did increase the cost within itself. So, but everything is inclusive in here. We've got all the fence, the dugouts, the wall now, and with the investment the county's already made at Bill Arp and Fair Play, I think this is a great move. Gary mentioned the funding. Fortunately, the revenues continue to come in strong. We're currently with the April numbers. They came in well over projections, so that's putting us at about 14% over our projected numbers. We're about $17 million over the overall revenues that have been collected. We're sitting in a good position. I think that's what drove the board's original decision to approve that reforecasted list. I see no reason not to move forward with this project, and I like the approach. We're doing it cautiously, get this project started and underway. And I know some other items below this project. And Gary and I have talked about it, just moving slow with them, maybe picking some of the low-hanging fruit, some of the small projects at first as we move through. And then as we get towards the fall, we'll have a much better feel for the revenues. We've already taken the first of the last 12 months in April, so we've got 11 more months to take the revenues. So with that, and as Gary said, we met. It's integrated. There were $276,000 below the next bid. They've got a great background, and it was an easy decision as far as that goes. We just got to realize the cost and make sure we have the funding for that. So that's Gary, was that?
Yes.
What you were looking for?
Yes. It as these things continue to come in, I guess as you heard yesterday on our paving contracts, it amazes me the continued rise in the cost of things. But Kerry, how much over was this as opposed to our original budget?
From the original budget, it was $710,000, and like we talked yesterday, that the wall. I look back at the wall. It was roughly $110,000 of that to put that wall in as a safety item. So, and that's pretty much par for the course based on what we're seeing across the board. On we just got through talking at the last board meeting about Fire Station 9. And you mentioned the transportation's bids on the asphalt. So it's just reality right now. And fortunately, again, our revenues are coming in.
Right, and I guess the good thing, if there's a good side to this, the bids were very close. So with that being said, we feel like we're getting a good price. The bids were a couple of $300,000 within each other. So feel like we got a good bid here.
I think you guys are absolutely on point, though. We understand the inflation cost is there. We can't control that. There's some things you can control, and that's one which we can't. I just want to make sure. So this is dealing with the dugouts, the fencing, the wall. Are the fields included in this as well, or is just the fields are not included in that number?
Yes.
They are. Okay. All right. Looks like I think, David, anything you want to add to this? Mr. Good? You're on mute, David.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, part of the decision making also came from the fact that Integrated has done projects in Douglas County already, and one of the, a couple of them they finished that, and we were very pleased with that project. So that was one of the things I just wanted to make sure I mentioned to this committee is that they also were strong in other projects they completed here in the county.
And the only other part I'll add to this is just make sure that, and it states in the minute, and we definitely make sure District 4 Commissioner Guider understands some things that are happening out west, so she won't feel left out, basically. So,
Absolutely.
okay. Commissioner Carson, anything you want to add to that?
No.
Okay. Are there any other comments to this particular item before we move on?
Guess we just need, Commissioner, a motion to move this forward to the board for approval.
Absolutely. You can do that if you like. If you so
I'll make a motion.
All right.
Motion. I'll make a motion.
There's a motion to approve this item by Chad, and is there a second?
Second.
Okay. There's a motion and a second on the floor to move this item forward to the BOC. And are there any other comments in reference to this particular item before we move forward with the vote?
I think this is going to make a big improvement to both those park facilities.
Mm-hmm.
Some of that fencing, as you know, Commissioner Mitchell, back in the day, they didn't use quality fencing. They used residential material and so forth. So this is quality stuff that will be put in. The old brick dugouts, which are all of different dimensions, will be taken out, and standard dugouts will be put in. So this will be a big improvement for the children down at Fairplay and over at Millard.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can go back to my coaching days and remember what was there, and it's still there. So no, I think you're absolutely correct in that statement. Any other comments? Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to approve this particular item. I guess I'll start with Gary, with your name and approval for the records.
Gary Dukes, yes.
Chad Griffin, yes.
Frederick Perry, yes.
Commissioner Carthen, yes.
And Commissioner Mitchell is a yes, unanimously. Vote to move this item forward, and it stands approved. Alrighty, thank you guys. Anything? What's next on the agenda?
Oh, that's it.
That's all.
I was trying to get a rise out of Commissioner Carthen.
What I was about to say, you see, I'm unmuted. Wait a minute.
Our next item is Punkintown Nature Preserve Development.
Right.
And we would like to recommend award to the lowest bidder, again, Integrated. The bids were very close. I mean, all three bids were very, very close. But Integrated had the lowest bid, and once again, when we did the evaluation, it was a unanimous vote for Integrated Construction. Myself, James Worthington, and Michael Furlaw, the civil engineer who actually drew the plans, were the evaluation committee, and we all agreed that the low bid and for Punkintown Nature Preserve Development go to Integrated.
Any comments on that, Commissioner Carthen?
Of course. That's why I didn't comment on the last thing. So first of all, I do want to say thank you so much to the staff, not only for Punkintown, but for Bill Art and Fair Play. Those are, extremely important. So I don't want the citizens to think, oh, she's so enamored with Punkintown. She doesn't care about Bill Art. Yes, I do. I definitely, want the citizens and especially our youth to be able to use nice facilities and the parents to be able to sit somewhere and enjoy where they are. And then that leads us to Punkintown. I do have a question. Is Integrated the same ones who did the senior center? No. Okay.
Commissioner Carthen, they did the press box concession.
The press box, that's what it was.
That sits between the soccer field and the football field down at Boundary Water.
Boundary Waters, right.
And they also did our tennis center at Deer Lick, our new tennis center over at Deer Lick.
Okay. I remember speaking with them at the press box when we had the ribbon cutting. So that's where I know them from. Okay, got you. So yeah, they do great work. So I'm excited about this. I just want to know, when is our groundbreaking, and when can the citizens, start to enjoy this beautiful piece of land in Douglas County?
It's really going to be a great area. I can see the vision with the pedestrian bridge going across the Bear Creek now. I think it's going to be a tremendous asset for the folks in your district.
Absolutely. And Chad, can you talk a little bit about when are we looking to break ground, or when are we looking to make movement over there if this is approved by the full Board of Commissioners?
Yes, ma'am. We're going to meet over there actually Thursday. I'm meeting Christy and Rick Martin. We're going to go over some ideas for the groundbreaking, and the groundbreaking looking at June 23rd.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And again, thank you, staff, for all the hard work, and Commissioner Mitchell for helping me to push this. It seems like a long time coming. I know Commissioner Mulcair, if he's listening, I think I'll send him a text today to let him know and invite him to the groundbreaking to let him know this is actually moving forward. So thank you to everyone.
Got it.
Commissioner Mitchell, ma'am.
Yes.
Just want to mention once again, hate to keep bringing this up, but it was overbid for what the funding has been set aside. So, and I think everyone's aware of that. But just for the record, we're going to have to find a few more dollars to put with what we have to make this happen. So,
absolutely,
I'll let y'all take care of that. But it is our. We think we've got a great bid here. If we need to move forward with it, we got a good price. So I'll let you handle the other part of it, and that's our record.
Thanks, Gary. We really appreciate you.
Yes, we do. And so Commissioner Mitchell, what I ask is that if County Deputy Perry would look at our buckets and then come back to us for a recommendation. So when we move this to the full board, then that the place for appropriation will have been identified, so we have a full picture. So if you could do that for me, Fred Perry, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Glad to play a part in Punkintown. I was waiting for my little role in this.
So this way we can kind of get ahead of it, so we can kind of look down the road as to what the numbers look like, even to kind of really get this project done. Because I'm too like Commissioner Carson. I'm glad that we're moving forward. I'm glad that we're now at the groundbreaking moves and third move. I'm glad to see these things now move. But I'm like her. I want to get it done. So what is it going to take to get it done? Let's start trying to look there to see what that is and how we get there. So June 23rd, I want to, Chad, let's you and I and Gary and Commissioner Carson all get back together and look at that date. There may be a conflict on that date for me, but I don't want to hold it up. But I think we may either look to do it sooner or later. But let's have a conversation. The other thing, I too agree that this committee and this thought process in Parks and Rec has always been about Parks and Rec, not about a particular side of town of Parks and Rec. And I think I commend the staff and everybody else for what you guys do in trying to make sure that it's just not about one side of town. Even though sometimes it's stated that way, it's never been that way. That thought process has never been a part of this committee and a part of us as commissioners to think that it's only about one side of town of Parks and Rec. It's been about the entirety, the holistic approach. But some don't see that. But I just want to make sure that's known, as stated by Commissioner Carson, that, I'm glad to see, that some action and some work and some other things are being done at all the parks, not at just the specific parks that are sometimes being stated. So job well done to staff for sure. So good job. Outside of that, I guess we need to kind of move this item forward, I guess. So is there a motion on the floor to move this item forward, to approve it to the full board and all that good stuff?
I make a motion that we approve the construction bid to integrated construction for of Punkintown Reserve.
There's a motion on the floor to approve it. Is there a second?
Second.
Chad has made the second. Are there any other discussions in reference to this item? If not, if you would state your name and state your approval or denial.
Gary Dukes, yes.
Chad Griffin, yes.
Frederick Perry, yes.
Commissioner Carthen, yes.
Commissioner Mitchell, yes. Unanimous decision to move this item forward to the full board as approval, and this item stands approved. Any other comments, any other additional things on the agenda?
Yes.
I'm gonna say Fred, Gary.
Okay. The next item was recommendation for some playground equipment, but Commissioner Mitchell, I need to take a closer look at that. I want to put some more study into that item. So if it's okay, we'll jump over that and go to the next item. Number 10 is a hot water heater for the Aquatic Center. We've got some issues with our hot water system heating the water down at our Aquatic Center. Those hot water heaters are aging. We're putting some pictures up on the screen now. Chad, would you like to comment?
I'm gonna let Ryan, our aquatic superintendent, move over. Hold on one sec.
This is Ryan Lester. Ryan, welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Ryan runs our aquatic center, and he will expound a little bit on what you're looking at here.
What you're looking at is the circulation pumps feeding into the 3 hot water heaters that we have. Currently, the hot water heaters have a lifespan of 6 to 13 years. These are the original hot water heaters from when the building was constructed in 2005. So all the research that we look into is right now we're on borrowed time. These hot water heaters and these pictures don't show all the copper piping leading into it as well. Some of the pictures, if we do have them, have what they call green slime coming out, but it's really the copper pipes corroding, leading into the hot water heaters. We
have another picture we can put up.
As we're trying to find that,
there you go. That gives you a better idea.
Yeah. So those pictures. When I came on board in October and I did a quick tour of the place, this is one of the first things that I've noticed, and I had a lot of conversations with our head maintenance worker, Doug McConnell. He knows, I'll be honest with you, I don't know all the ins and outs of the hot water heaters. He knows everything you can possibly know about them, but I know the lifespan. I know the importance of the hot water heaters for our facility. It services about a dozen bathrooms throughout the men's and women's locker rooms, about a dozen showers. We have dry bathrooms in the hallway that have about 5 total stalls, 4 sinks, and then the wash basin for our maintenance workers. So right now, like I said, we're on year 17 when these hot water heaters should last about 6 to 13 years. And we don't have a full span of the room that these are sitting in, but it's also sitting in the room where our brand new boiler is. So, we're just trying, right now we're in the phase of really reactive mode, but to be proactive before they burst, when we can cause more damage to other pumps that are leading into other equipment back there. And, with sitting water, who knows? We're not opening on Sundays. So if this happens, let's say the minute we leave on Saturday, that water could be sitting for 2 days, rusting out some of the pumps. And one of the main important things is our pool rule before entering the pool is everybody has to rinse off in the shower. to get into the pool. So since I've been on board, we've already had to adjust the temperature a couple times for the showers, so it's at least comfortable for people to rinse off in. And that rate just keeps increasing. So we're just at this stage just trying to be proactive here before we cause more damage and cause more money to have to put out to fix things.
Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
So my main question, I don't want you to think I'm rude, Ryan, but I always get to the point. What's the cost?
So we got 3 bids. The lowest bid is, as far as the scope of work, it doesn't include a few of the items that the other companies are providing for us, but we have a $76,000 quote, and then Johnson Controls, who we discussed earlier with the contract, they have an $86,000. And what that is removing the 3 hot water heaters, replacing with 3 new ones. We have a warranty of 10 years on each hot water heater, 15 years on the heat exchangers. So we're right around with a few items that have to be included in the third quote. They'll be right around the 80,000 mark as well. So the lowest bid we're looking at around $76,200 for replacing, and that also includes all the piping and recirculating pumps that lead into it.
Okay, so my thoughts around this is what is in the best interest of the full scope of things. If you're having to remove stuff, if you're having to take stuff off site, maintenance and warranty of things, the lowest bid may not always be the best bid. So I'm hoping that you all are the experts, that you will give us a recommendation as to what you think is best overall and long term.
Absolutely.
So what's the recommendation, Ryan? What do you what bid would you?
Well,
do?
right now, the Estes services, the bid that's $76,000. After talking with them and meeting with them and then taking pictures, they really, when I had the 3 people come out, they probably sat with me the longest, explained things a little bit more in depth to me, to make me understand it a little bit better. So I really think with the price and the customer service, I think we will, the best bet is probably to go with the SD services.
Very good.
Okay, so Director Dukes, anything to add? And if not, I accept the motion.
Okay. Yeah, as you are definitely aware, I beat the drum too long probably, but as the Aquatic Center ages, this is just another aspect of what we're looking at. 13 years would be the outside life of these heaters, and we're now on 18. So problem's just going to continue to get worse. So I think we should go ahead and take, if it's doable. And Terry, I guess, are you still out there?
I'm still here.
Is this something we could possibly use splosh money for to go ahead and get this taken care of before we have an emergency?
Well, it would certainly be something that funds could be used for under the renovation money.
If the commissioners chose to go that way.
Right. And obviously the Aquatic Center is on the reforecasted list. It's not, I guess in the grand scheme of things, it's not a percentage wise, it's a small amount. Gary, I guess it just depends on the committee's wants, and we are working off a reforecasted list. So I was curious, Gary, about the chestnut log price there. Are you close enough to? I know I see one cost on that. but maybe taking that in consideration because it sounds like we're definitely moving forward with that one. And I know it's on there. But yeah, I would, based on where we're at with the revenues, the money can be used for that. I would feel comfortable moving forward with it based on the committee's decision.
Okay, just for everybody else, I think what Cherry is referencing, the netting and the fencing at Chestnut Log was splashed money, and I think the estimate was about 150. So, or in change, whatever it turned out to be. And now, since we've got the Board of Education taking on half of that, that would leave about 75,000 that we're not going to have to put into Chestnut Log right now that we could utilize for possibly replacing these hot water heaters. Is that what we're talking about, Terry?
Yes, exactly, Gary.
I think Director Dukes, that's more than reasonable since the quote from Estes came in at 76,000 and some change.
Yeah.
And we're only having to spend 75,000 or a little bit over that for the Chestnut Log soccer complex. I say use the SPLOS funds that is in there, since we're working off the reforecasted list, like Terry said. So I think that this would be good. Commissioner Mitchell is in transit, so I don't know if he's still on. He was trying to transition, so I don't want you to think we lost him, but he may not be able to speak right now.
Okay.
But
I agree, Commissioner Carthen. I think this is an important aspect of the Aquatic Center and something that needs to go ahead and be addressed.
I agree. So I would just ask the Deputy County Administrator Perry if you would just take a look at all of that and just make sure that the finances are there. Then I would suggest, or I would entertain a motion to approve this measure to be used for SPLOS funds pending Deputy County Administrator's approval.
Okay. And I will get with me, Gary, and Terry. Will sit down, possibly David. We'll sit down and put our heads together and come up with something for you, Commissioner Carthen. Thank you.
Was that a motion, Commissioner Carthen?
It was.
I'll second that.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion? So we have a motion and a second.
Chair?
Yes.
This is David Gibb from the SPLOS.
Okay.
Also,
David,
I just
you have
wanted
the floor.
all right, thank you. I had lost connection not too long ago, so I'm not sure if Terry brought this up. But this was actually also on the reforecasted list as something SPLOS dollars could go towards that you guys voted on when we did the reforecast. So I wanted to put that out there that updates to the Aquatic Center was actually on Mr. Duke's, Director Duke's list of projects, and that was approved by this committee.
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Yes, Director Dukes, actually, when I first started on this committee some 4 years ago now, that was one of the things that Director Dukes talked about, was about the Waters Aquatic Center and the needs over there. So you're absolutely right. So thank you for that. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. When I call your name, please cast your vote. Director Dukes?
Yes.
Chad Griffin?
Chad Griffin, yes.
Deputy County Administrator Perry?
President Perry, yes.
Tarenia Carthen, yes. And Commissioner Mitchell, I don't know if you're still on the line.
That would be a yes.
Wonderful. We have a unanimous vote and the motion carries. I'll turn it back over to you,
Thank
Commissioner.
Have a good day.
Thank you, Ryan. Have a good one.
Thanks for all the kind words about our department too.
Oh, no problem. You guys deserve it. We appreciate you. Director Dukes, any other thing? Any?
The last thing, just update on I just wanted to, I didn't want to let this AT&T, I know we talked about phone towers yesterday, or you folks did in the work session. AT&T cell phone tower request. They still haven't got us a proposal. I assume that'll still be coming, but just to refresh your memory, I met and James Worthington met with AT&T, and they did pinpoint a location that we all agreed with down at Boundary Waters for a new cell tower, but they have not got a proposal back to us as of yet. So just an update, we're still waiting on that, and as soon as we hear from them, we'll pass along any new word. And that's all we have as this agenda.
Awesome. Are there any other items to come before the Parks and Recreation Committee? If none, I thank you all for your input this morning. Again, we appreciate you, Commissioner Mitchell and I, and I'm pretty sure the citizens really appreciate you. One thing that these meetings being broadcasted does is it lets the citizens know what goes into, everything that we do and the decisions we make and the information we need and the data, the appropriations. So again, thank you all for what you do. And if there's no further discussion, this meeting is adjourned.